Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you here. XRP seeing mass adoption already, and the Holy Grail, never sell your XRP. You're going to love this video today because XRP is gearing up to explode. So somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $4.05 trillion market cap, and the market's off 0.5%, but we're still over $4 trillion. Bitcoin, 117,700 plus. Ethereum, 4,300 plus right now, falling from 4,600. XRP number 3 spot, $3.11. We're up 0.8 on the 24, still off 6.3 on the 7-day. Let's look at the range of price here. Ranging between 301 and 315. Oh, it got close. That 301 got close. If I saw 299, I'd have popped on it. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I get it. You know what? We'll just keep an eye on it. Listen, I'm super excited about this, and I can be positive because I believe that, what we're seeing right now with this sideways motion, a little bit of a rollback in prices, it's all across the board for the entire market. And largely because I believe Congress went on recess for the month of August. And when they come back, I'd say watch out because this coiled spring known as the cryptocurrency space is poised for takeoff, ladies and gentlemen. So keep your eyes peeled and get your bags where you need them. I wanted to show you this right here because you know about Gulf of America, XRP.com. This is how amazing an opportunity this is. Think of this for a moment. First of all, I find Florida be the East Coast version of California and a better version of it at that. Now, with that being said, shout out to my California fan, but you know where I'm coming from because you probably feel that way too in your own state. But here's a picture of Malibu's coastal charm. Look how rough this water is. You could lose a kid in here, for God's sakes. I don't know about all that. This beach, seeing the sunset over the Pacific Ocean, it's beautiful. I get it. I've seen it. I love it. I think it's great too. However, what I will say is that this beach does not look as inviting as what I'm about to show you, and neither does the house prices in Malibu. For $40 million, you could be crammed next to your neighbor and reach out your bathroom window and ask your neighbor for a roll of toilet paper. For $40 million. And you get a pool that looks like a kiddie pool over here. It's embarrassing. Then you get all this ugly underbelly that has to be done just to even have the house parked there, right? Then there's really no beach to speak of for you to actually go down here and enjoy anything. For $40 million, right? Well, check this out. Gulf of America, XRP.com is bringing properties to you from the panhandle of Florida. And by the way, they can find anything you want in Florida. And soon enough, it'll be more than that. But I'm going to tell you, let's focus here. Look at that beautiful water right there. That is Caribbean water right there with beautiful white, silky, sandy beaches, so soft on your feet you can't even imagine. This is a 2-story penthouse right here. Now, I'm going to show you just a few properties, not going under the pictures, but just the actual face property, the face photo. 5.2 million versus the 40 million. And you're right there on the beach, and that's the kind of beach you're walking out to, not one with rocks that cut your feet and water so rough it might take your kids away. Or you could get this one that's right on the beach with 67 feet of beach frontage. Beautiful single-family home. Guess what? 1/4 of the cost of being in Malibu. And you get the Caribbean water and the white, silky, sandy beaches and not all the rocks that cut your feet. Or get this beautiful place. This is absolutely stunning. 10.7. 1/4 of the cost to be in Malibu. And you got a beautiful beach. Or be 1 block away, just across the street rather, from the beach. Just steps away from being across the street from the beach, which is right across that street. Then you're 8.5 million, and you've got this resort-style outdoor living as well as a beautiful mansion, single-family home here. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, and get all the benefits of this beautiful beach without ever leaving the continental U.S. And I want to add in, currently the state of Florida and the Governor DeSantis is working to remove property tax. for a quarter or less of that of the cost. By the way, they even have condos down there starting around the 300Ks. You could be in a condo in there tomorrow morning. I'm telling you, click the link below for Gulf of America, XRP.com. Reach out to Daniel, call or text him like I've talked to him. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to love what they're able to do. And if you want to timeshare some of that out to offset some of your costs so you and your family don't have to even think about anything other than having a great time making memories together, they got you. They're going to do that too. Gulf of America, XRP.com. I'm going to tell you right now, I am so excited about this. And I'm going down to Destin soon enough to check it out for myself. Look at this. Real adoption has begun, ladies and gentlemen. NASDAQ-listed Wellgistics Health announced XRP Ledger-based payment system for over 6,500 U.S. pharmacies. We got 6,500 U.S. pharmacies on the XRP Ledger, baby. That's real practical application of the XRP Ledger in use. That's real adoption. And how's your fancy little coin doing, right? Ours is doing pretty damn good, and it's getting ready to be doing a whole lot better soon enough. Wells Fargo increases Bitcoin exposure from 26 million to 160 million in Q2. The banks are quietly buying. Remember, the people out here that told you, well, specifically a person out here told you banks are never going to offer crypto services. They're liars. That guy's a liar, right? And you have to ask yourself, why would that guy be lying like that? You know, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? But let's listen to Rick Edelman, who's not a liar. And this guy's telling you exactly what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, we do believe the bill will be passed within the next 60 days. And this is further clarification. The Genius Act gave us clarity on stablecoins. This new bill will give us clarity on much more within the general world of crypto. And again, provides the rules that the traditional finance industry, banks, insurance companies, credit card companies, as well as the Fortune 500 generally, need to know that they're able to engage in this marketplace. They know what they're allowed to do, how they're allowed to do it, how they have to disclose it and report it and pay taxes on it. And this is going to unleash the burdens that have kept everybody out of the marketplace. The result of all this, Talia, you're going to see hundreds of millions, probably hundreds of billions of dollars, perhaps even trillions of dollars flowing into Bitcoin and other digital assets. And since all of these coins operate on a supply-demand issue, just like any other asset, we're anticipating this is going to be the beginning of a major source of inflows and price increases over the next several years.
And there you have that. That doesn't get hard to follow. We're waiting just like he's waiting for that Clarities Act. And we also need that tax bill to straighten all of this out too, so we know how to handle it. Now here, and don't forget, U.S. domiciled digital assets could see some kind of tax advantage or tax-free for institutions or maybe even everyone across the board. We'll see. If you're looking to get mass adoption on the ledger, it's a great conversation. Now, we know that 54 years ago, yesterday, President Nixon suspended the convertibility of U.S. dollar into gold. Now, we're changing gears a little here just to get down to the meat of why all of this is happening to begin with. And we touched on some of this yesterday, but I've got new information for you to see today. Chad Steingraber talks about U.S. dollar-backed stablecoins issued by non-government entities will run the financial system. That's exactly right. Tether, Circle, Stripe, and Ripple are named here, as you see. Circle, Ripple, institutional side, Tether, Stripe are looking like the retail and small, medium enterprise side taking shape here, right? So we'll see. But what we know is that this is what's happening. And we know that the Fed is getting the door shut on its hands because it is not allowed to participate in the new digital on-chain economy. And this, I believe, is a massive conversation that not many people are having out here today. And I think it is a very important conversation we all need to be having because it's exactly designed to remove the petrodollar agreement so we no longer need it to elevate the U.S. dollar as the global reserve status. Now, step two is getting that private issuance backing the bond so well that while XRP is gaining utility and liquidity onto the ledger over several years, maybe even less, I don't know, at some point XRP gains enough reserves that it can underpin the dollar solely. Think of this for a moment. Then you can start to contract the amount of stablecoin issuers down to a select few. Remember, every so often, money goes through an expansion and contraction phase. We talked about this with Christian Carlo and XRP Las Vegas 24, right? Where we had him on stage and he was talking about how back in the days before the Federal Reserve, you had different currencies that were used. And before that, you had multiple different items that were bartered with all the time and used as currency, whether it was seashells or deer antlers and pelts and things of that nature that were always traded in a barter system and used in a form of currency, right? And then we had different currencies that were created by companies. You know, I owe my soul to the company store, right? People couldn't move to a new region because they were getting paid in money directly issued from a coal mine company. And they could only spend that money at the local goods store, right? The surplus store. So they couldn't move unless they converted to something like a gold. And then it made it dangerous for you to travel by horseback and wagon because they all knew if you were going somewhere, you probably had some loot on you, right? So that expansion and contraction of money, then the Fed comes in, issues money, the money we have today and the system we have today, which has become bloated and really at a place of bust, a point of break. How do you fix it? You introduce a new money to the world. That's right. And when you introduce a new money to the world, new forms of money, digital assets, then you can begin to reshape the system. And that's why the Fed's not going to be allowed to play along with the rest of us. That's how I see what's coming. And here we see a reminder of that from Eric Trump, President Trump's son.
But the reality is the banking system in this country is absolutely antiquated. It doesn't work. It's costly. It's slow as hell. You know, I would have never been in crypto had we not been debanked and deplatformed by absolutely everyone. If I wasn't getting the letters from Capital One saying, congratulations, 300 of your accounts are gone overnight, believe me, I wouldn't have found this industry. But this is an industry that within a year, everybody's going to be in. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody, every bank, every consumer, because this is just the way of the future. And it's an honor to be part of it. And frankly, I'm glad my father's leading the way on it, because otherwise one of the other countries would get it. And I'm glad I look at the 401ks and I see how much they've gone up. And I'm glad I look at inflation and see how much it's gone down. I'm glad interest rates are going to come down. I mean, we're getting our country back.
We are getting our country back, and we're getting a new upgraded version of our country back, which is really huge. Banking system is antiquated and discriminatory and certainly out of date and inefficient. So we will talk about that. Now, this is just a quick highlight to everybody here. The SEC has filed a status report that the Court of Appeals noting that the parties have filed a joint stipulation of dismissal of the appeals and that the stipulation remains pending and therefore awaiting approval by the government. This case is over, and it's just another sign that that is over. Now, if you ever wanted to know as an XRP holder what our future is, listen to Sal Gilberti talk to the one and only Paul Barron.
Biggest XRP catalyst that you think will happen? I mean, the banking license, one, sure, for Ripple. Obviously, we've already seen quite a few, but there's also involvement in potentially a SWIFT movement in terms of cross-border payments. What would be your catalyst that you think would move the market?
I think those are both catalysts. I think that it's hard to say. If they get approved as a bank and then announce they're not going to sell any more XRP onto the market because they want to capitalize the bank, I think that would be an enormous impetus for price. That's gigantic. But then I think as SWIFT breaks down and ISO 222, I think that they're not projecting SWIFT to use it for a few years yet to be totally compliant with that. Whereas I think that when Ripple flips all the switches and all these NDAs they talk about come alive, and when you start seeing banks announce, we did this much on the blockchain ledger in terms of moving your money, and we did this much on SWIFT, and the SWIFT is going down and blockchain's going up, I think that's a big deal. And there's another point to be made here for the economy as a whole. Most people don't understand that banks have to keep capital in both places. If you want to send money from Miami to Tokyo, okay, banks have to have money in Tokyo and money in Miami under the current system. That all goes away. All that capital is going to be freed up with the blockchain. That's going to burnish the bank's balance sheets even more. But more so, they're going to be able to loan money. They're going to be able to finance their trading desks. It's going to open up so much capital to economic growth in general around the globe. It's a wonderful thing. The blockchain is literally going to open up value because it's going to unlock a lot of frozen money on the bank's balance sheets. And that's really important. Nobody seems to be talking about that.
No, I'll tell you what, Sal Gilberti's talking about it, and boy, am I glad he's talking about it. He said a lot there. First, I want to show everybody here Ripple and Stellar featured in Swift presentation from Smoke Dog. Ripple and Stellar right here. It gets smaller if I click on it, so I'll just show you. See, it gets smaller. It's harder to see. So this is the biggest version. But Ripple and Stellar right there, ladies and gentlemen. Smack dab in the middle of the Swift. We already know it, but you just got to see it sometimes just to remind yourself. However, listen to this clip as well. There may be a little teeny overlap, but still, this is powerful.
So you've seen these market cycles ebb and flow, and now we're in one where digital assets are now finally kind of growing up and making their way to Wall Street and their trek to Washington and all of that. You say it's a nascent market. How big could this be?
I think that crypto can be bigger than anyone imagines, because the people who focus on cap table and say there's not enough money to make these cap tables that big, that's not true, because it's got nothing to do with the amount of money. I mean, it does have to do with the amount of money, but not all of the crypto is going to be out there trading. So the cap table, it's like an AI company being worth, $500 billion. It's because there are only a limited number of shares that actually trade on that thing. And so that's how it's going to work with crypto. People are going to buy it and hold it and store it. What's Ripple going to do with its 40 billion XRP? Given that they filed to be a bank, there's one of the leading theories that they just hold that on their balance sheet. They get their banking license and they become a top 20 capitalized bank in the world. That's with XRP at $3. XRP goes to, some multiple of $3. They become a top 10 bank or even the top bank in terms of capitalization. That's pretty astounding.
That would be insanely astounding. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on that idea.
I think Paul's got it right. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that idea. And I think we're going to see something like it go down. I just want you to listen to that short little clip again here.
It's hard to say. If they get approved as a bank and then announce they're not going to sell any more XRP onto the market because they want to capitalize the bank, I think that would be an enormous impetus for price. That's gigantic.
Let's have it one more time.
It's hard to say. If they get approved as a bank and then announce they're not going to sell any more XRP onto the market because they want to capitalize the bank, I think that would be an enormous impetus for price. That's gigantic.
It really would. And if you're ever wondering how XRP could disappear off the retail market, this is it. Translation, this is what is known as the Shane Ellis theory. Because once they tell you it's no longer available, then it will cause the market to gobble up the loose liquidity off the retail exchanges, pretty much in the same way that Shane Ellis has explained to us, some shape or form thereof. That's what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. And I couldn't be more excited for all of us. This here, in response to that same clip, is digital asset investors. Shout out to the GOAT. The rich employ the buy, borrow, die strategy with assets with a cost basis so low it would be too big of a tax burden. Why would Ripple do any different? The buy, borrow, die XRP escrow strategy. I like the sound of that. Yes, absolutely. That there is the Shane Ellis theory, just in another way. I think it makes so much sense. And all of us could be in a situation not too long from now, if we see that unfold, where we could never sell our XRP, but yet place it somewhere in a safe place to earn a yield on our XRP. And or borrow against our XRP should it be at a high stable price where you don't feel like you would get liquidated, right? Or you would borrow so much that you would be liquidated. So, which is a very tricky game, but all of these things are in front of us. And I am super excited because I do believe we will reach a point in the not too distant future where we have the opportunity to earn a yield on our XRP. And I want you to think about that for a second, because there is no sale. If you move your XRP into something that earns a yield, there is no cap gain there because you haven't sold anything. That's how I understand it. Not financial advice from me or anyone else on that, but that's the stuff I want to have a conversation about as soon as possible when the opportunity arises. So, looking here from Crypto Wizard, XRP is gearing up. A new all-time high is coming. XRP is pulling back after retesting its previous all-time high zone. The parabolic rally is nearing. Wait and see. They have a projection here of $11+ for XRP in this breakout. But look, there is some sideways motion here. We could run up to $4 or $5 in that window and then another pullback, come back and retest support of that all-time high we're trying to smash through now. and then dance above it or around it and then go up again. Now, I'll tell you what I do like about this is that looks like two different pops for me that are left in the space. And I think that's possible because I think we get something on legislation popping for Clarity's Act. And then I think we have the possibility to get a late year, just like 2017, 2018, another pop as we move and see the liquidity pouring into the space once that bill is passed and then signed into law. Now, remember, with every time there's something signed into law, then there's a point and window we have to go through before that law becomes into effect, right? So there'll be another chance for that to break open too. So it's going to be a remarkable next year or two watching all of this liquidity pour into this space. I truly believe Eric Trump's got it right when he says everyone will be in crypto, not some, everyone, no matter where they're at. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.